What's up everybody, Justin here with the Digital Realty team, and today we're going to talk about a common question we get asked by our buyers as well as our sellers, and that is what happens when the appraisal comes in low. Before we do get started, if you don't mind smashing that like button as well as the subscribe button, we do post this kind of content for free out to you to educate you on the home buying and home selling process. And comment down below, I'd love to be able to answer those questions that you might have. But other than that, let's get started. All right. So what happens when an appraisal comes in low? Let's say you're a buyer. You submit an offer for a property for, let's say, $300,000. Later on down that buying process, an appraiser is going to come out. They're going to assess the property, value of the property based off of comparable homes that have recently sold in the area. The reason for this is so that the lender funding the loan can make sure they are funding the actual value of the home. They don't want another 2008 crash to happen again. And let's say that appraisal comes in low. Let's say it comes in at $290 versus $300. That's about a $10,000 difference. Does that mean the deal is going to fall apart? Not necessarily. So when an appraisal comes in low, the lender will not fund over that appraised value. So one of three things can happen. Either the seller drops the sales price to that $290, the buyer comes up with $10,000 extra in cash, or they can find a middle ground. And if none of these solutions happen, that's the opportunity for you as a buyer to walk away from the deal. You get your earnest money deposit back and you can start house hunting again. You want to have an experienced agent to run a market analysis on the home you're getting ready to put an offer in, or prior to listing the property. That way you have an accurate figure and you're not just throwing a number on a screen and hope people buy. The last thing you want to do is get a home inspection. That's going to cost you $500. Have the moving planned out, and then the appraisal comes in low because you didn't have an experienced agent to run those numbers for you prior to submitting that offer. Because technically what the seller can do, they can just walk away from that offer, put it back on the market if they have that leverage, and just wait for the next one. Also, for a seller, if you don't have that experienced agent to run the numbers prior to listing the home, and you have an expected amount of equity you're going to get from the sale of the house, and you just don't get that, that's going to be a hard conversation to have come that time. So you definitely want to get a market analysis ran, come to an agreement on what the market value might be for the home as well as the appraised value, and have that plan set in place. A couple of important facts for sellers to be aware of. Our FHA appraisal sticks with the property for the next 6 months, meaning that if you accept an offer from an FHA buyer, say it appraises low, the deal falls through for whatever reason, that FHA appraisal is stuck with the property, your property, for the next 6 months. So if another FHA buyer comes in and the appraisal comes out, it'll be that value. There are some ways around this. It really depends on what lender you're working with and how much experience your agent has, but it does stick with the property for the next 6 months. Not with conventional or VA, but with FHA. As a seller, if the appraisal does come in low for whatever reason, you do have an opportunity to dispute this appraisal and bring some comparable homes, some comparables that compare with the sales price, and take into account, give it to the appraisal and take into account any of the upgrades that might not have been accounted for beforehand. In the event that for whatever reason the appraisal is still not hitting the purchase price, you do have an opportunity to request a second appraisal, order a second appraisal, which that will cost some money out of pocket, which the buyer or seller can pay for. Another important fact is a lot of people, they might not want to pay over the appraised value, but some people might, depending on what the market is looking like. I mean, depending on how much inventory is, how unique your property is, the market value being the buyer's interest in it. So a lot of times, yeah, a buyer may not want to pay the appraised value, but back in 2022, 2021, people were guaranteeing over asking, over the appraised value, 25, 50, 100,000 over asking. It means that if the appraisal comes back $50,000 less than what they're buying it for, the buyer has to come up with that difference. And it's not always a bad thing. You're not always losing value on your home. Actually, when you close on the house, it does increase the market value in that neighborhood. When this happens, it only increases the value of the property if other comparable, similar homes come up for sale in the area, which will push the threshold of the value in there. In most cases, with appraisals coming in low and buyers still purchasing above that appraisal value, this usually means that the seller has more leverage in this case. The buyer knows that there isn't much inventory out there that really checks all the boxes for what they're looking for. So this is what could happen if an appraisal does come in low. If you do have an appraisal that does come in low, whether you're a buyer or a seller, you definitely want to have an experienced agent on your side for this to know the next steps, exactly what to do, how to challenge these appraisals and get you the best deal possible. Like I said in the beginning, if you have any other questions, want anything answered, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Please leave a comment, smash the like button, and subscribe, because we have plenty of other educational videos coming out to just tell you more about what's going on in the market, the buying process, as well as the selling process.